Hello, and welcome to my channel. Today I am going to talk to you about or read a chapter of Napoleon and Josephine, the biography of a marriage. We are on the honeymoon part. No, wait. Part 4, right? Yeah, 4. We're on part 4. Chapter 3, if you're following along, on page 101 in my edition. My mother's resistance ended when she saw General Bonaparte on the verge of departure. Hortense explains the development of that winter. It fell to Madame Campen, weird name, to break the news to Eugene and me. Our mother lacked the courage, knowing what distress it caused us. I was, it is true, profoundly afflicted, but Madame Campan sought to calm me by pointing out the advantages to my brother. He was eager for a military career and could not begin it under auspices better than those of the general who was to be his stepfather. In February, the general accompanied his fiancée to the office of the no, the notary Ra- Ra- Ragudu, Haman d'Affaires or business manager, for the drawing up of the marriage contract, by which, under French legal provision, still in effort today, each of the contracting parties was to retain control of his or her own estate, non-existent in the case of both. Even so, Matron Raginatine cautioned his client against her folly, warning her, according to Napoleon's biographer, secretary Mineval, that her friends were deeply concerned at seeing her enter into a union with a military man devoid of fortune, an adventurer younger than herself, who might well be killed in action and leave her destitute, with still more children to support. And adding that, while her fiancé was undoubtedly an excellent officer, he nevertheless had nothing at this point to recommend him save his cape and his sword. During this interview, the general had been waiting in an outer office, but he had overheard, through a particular open door, the notoriety remarks to his client, and reports Manuel. She approved them as the words of an honest man, adding, "I hope that Matron Bulletin will continue as notary for our joint affairs in the future, for he has won my confidence." Napoleon, says Mabel, kept the promise made by General Bonaparte and named Gudin a notoriety on the imperial civil list. And this one says, um, Bonaparte's Napoleon's first secretary, as well as Manel, his successor, tells that Ragudia story, but there are some slight divergences in the two accounts. Only for Borrowini includes the the amusing sequel in which Josephina is quoted as saying, "Can you imagine my astonishment, Ber- Bernini, when Bonaparte, on the day of coronation, dressed in all his imperial regalia, summoned Ragadui into his presence, saying, 'Oh now, Ragadui, have I at last something more to recommend me than my cape and my sword?' At so late a day as mid-February 1796, there came a lovers' quarrel, so devastating that Napoleon was still brooding over it 4 months later, referring it to his letter to Josephina from Milan on June 8th, as the devastating scene that took place 2 weeks before our marriage. The morning after this scene, at 9 in the morning, is the dateline. He had written her a letter explaining everything save the issue, which had necessitated the explanation. "I came away last night in the grip of painful emotion. I went to bed very angry. It seemed to me that the respect due my character should have prevented such a thought as agitated you last night from ever entering your mind. If you continue to harbor such a suspicion, you will be most unjust, madam, and I most unfortunate. For you even to think that I do not love you for yourself alone. For whom then? For what? Ah, madam, in that case, I must certainly have changed. How could so base a suspicion have ever been conceived in a soul so pure? I am still astonished at you, but still more astonished at myself, back at your feet this morning, without the willpower to resent or to resist. The height of weakness and objection. What, then, is your strange power over me? My incomparable Josephina, that mere thought of yours have the power to poison my life and rend my heart, when at the same time another emotion, stronger still, and another less sober mood led me back to grovel before you. I can clearly see that if disputes arise between us, my heart and conscience will have to be disqualified for the reason that you have seduced and subordinated them. They are on your side in any quarrel, but what did you do? What of you? Maya, Mio, dos amor. Were you able to sleep this night, or did you give me so much as a single thought? Two, the most. I give you 3 kisses upon your heart, one upon your lips, and one upon your eyes. If Josephina had accused him of not herself alone, loving her for herself alone, then for whom then? For what? For Barra's and for Barra's influence? For her fortune? Napoleon later admitted to a chronicle at St. Helena that he had paid a visit to the Tessor family agent, the banker emissary, apparently to check on the Martinique's holdings and prospects. Emily may have told Josephina of the inquiry, but if so, she gave her future husband very little satisfaction, satisfaction, satisfaction on the subject. for Napoleon's letter to her on April 24th states that she had never spoken to him of her business affairs. Whatever their lovers' differences in mid-February, these must have been composed by February 28th, and the wedding banns were published, and certainly by March 8th, when the wedding contract was signed at Margarita's office, with the bride subtracting 4 years of her age, and the groom gallantly adding 18 months to his, to further minimize the difference and make them both a compatible 28. On March 2nd, Bonaparte, Bonaparte's appointment to the command of the Army of Italy was announced publicly. And on March 9th, the wedding ceremony was performed. A civil ceremony as befitted a general of the Republic which had severed all ties with the Church of Rome. A wedding without benefits of clergy, without benefits of guests or celebration. Not one of the 7 Bonaparte family members had been apprised, much less invited. The groom would wait until after the wedding to seek the pardon of his mother in Marsiliana, and his eldest brother Joseph in Italy. Instead of the formal consent he should have sought beforehand in accordance with the strict Corsican tribal custom. Nor has Josephine been willing to risk her children's sulks or tears. The Bonaparte's children, however, would become reconciled and devoted to the groom, whereas the Bonapartes would never would to the bride. Josephine, in one of her feminist clinging tunics and with a gold fillet containing her light chestnut curls, arrived promptly about at 8 o'clock at the majority of the second arrondissement of Paris on the Rue d'Antoine with Boris, Town, and Camulet, her trusted legal advisor. But for 2 hours it appeared that it might be a wedding party without benefit even of the groom. From 8 to 10 o'clock, Josephine practiced patience, which would stand her in a good stead with a man so preoccupied as to be obvious to time on his wedding night. As the clock struck 10, the clang of boots and the clang of swords on the stone entry steps roused the mayor from his doze behind his desk. Within a matter of minutes after the arrival of General Bonaparte and his aide-de-camp led Marius, the gold wedding band had slipped on the bride's finger, a ring engraved to destiny, which would be worn as a talisman on the finger of Josephina's grandson when he entered Paris as emperor in 1851. Before 10:30 chimed, the perfunctory civil ceremony had been concluded. Congratulations had been offered. The 4 witnesses had dispersed, and the newlyweds in their carriage were en route back to the Rue Santorini for the 36-hour honeymoon. 36 hours. A gifted hostess, Madame Bonaparte, would have arranged with the domestic staff to retire early, but to leave the salon fire lit, and a table drawn up beside it with cold collation and a bottle of champagne or Chamberlain, the general's favorite wine, though he, as well as Josephina, was an abstemious, to which to drink the wedding, toast. The general would be staying on at the Royal Chamberlain that night of March 9th, his baggage having been deposited earlier by his orderly in the dressing room of the second floor bedroom suite. Maid, valet, chef, gardener, and coachman had all been given to understand that the house had a new master. It was understood by all in the household save Fortune, the fawn pug dog with the black mask and the corkscrew tail, the messenger of the Carmen, who had obviously in previous weeks been confined in another room until after the general's departure, at which time he was allowed back in the bedroom, on the bed, where he now lay growling at the intruder across the eiderdown. My rival, the general later described the ugly, ill-tempered little beast or not. He was in possession of Madame Bed when I married her. I tried to pull him out, a vain attempt. I was told I had the choice of sleeping in another bed or sharing that one with Fortune. The situation rather annoyed me, but it was a question of take it or leave it, so I resigned myself. The canine favorite was less accommodating than I, of which I bear proof on his leg. The next morning, the 10th, General and Madame Bonaparte drove to Saint-Germain-en-Laye to visit the children. Eugene was disposed to bask in the reflective military glory, but one of Hortense's schoolmates said that Hortense had been crying openly in class, sobbing that General Bonaparte frightened her, and that she was afraid he would be very strict with her and Eugene. That day, he could not have been more charming, visiting the classrooms, walking in the gardens, complimenting Madame Campan on her excellent female academy. Hortense might have been won over then and there, as people generally were whenever Napoleon intended them to be, except for the tweak he finally gave her ear at party. Love pats, tweaks, and pinches were acutely painful badges of courage and affection to make even such hero generals as Drouant and Murat wince. On March 11th, with the aide-de-camp, Drouant waiting at his carriage door, General Bonaparte came to the cruel parting from his Josephina, orders from the War Ministry to meet General Moshfegh, his chief of staff, at headquarters at night. Must have come sooner than he had expected. since his letter of March 14th told of his resigning the haste with which his orders had torn him away from her, or she had wavered too long in setting the wedding date. 36 hours had not been enough for him of living in her sweet and gentle vicinity, the serene realm her happy nature created all about her. He could not have enough of her in 36 days, 36 months. He could think and write nothing but her embraces. His letters covered her with his 1001 kisses, kisses on her eyes, her lips, her hair, her throat, her breasts. He can talk of nothing but kisses, Prosper Melvin said in editing these love letters of Napoleon I for Napoleon III in 1859. He can talk of nothing but kisses, kisses everywhere and upon portions of the anatomy not to be found in any Academia Francis dictionary, until the carnage turned out on the long driveway between the double row of lime trees. General Bonaparte doubtless threw kisses and waved back to Josephine. He resented the haste of his orders, and yet his sword was at his side, ready in its scabbard. He was off for the campaign of Italy, for a campaign that was to stretch beyond Italy, across the Mediterranean to Egypt, and back again across the Rhine, the Tagus, and the Vistula, and the Nicemen, and across all Europe, and into the steppes of Russia, that was not to end until it reached a village near Brussels called Waterloo. The greatest adventure since Alexandria had set out across the Hellespont. And that is it. If you like this video, click the thumbs up button. Comment down below I want to know what your favorite part of this. This is getting really interesting, actually. I am enjoying it. But comment down below what's your favorite part of this so far, and because I would like to know. And also subscribe if you haven't. I post videos every yeah, I like fold my hair. Comment or not comment. I post videos every Tuesday, Monday and Fridays. And yeah, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.